Ladies and gentlemen, we are now ready to call our meeting to order. If I could have a roll call, please.
Mr. Ballard?
Here.
Mr. Amacchia?
Yes.
Mr. Smith?
Present.
Mr. Sturgill?
Here.
Mr. Williams?
Here. This time we have the Pledge of Allegiance. I believe it's student-led. And who's doing the introductions?
Good evening. I'm Jay Kiefer, the proud principal of Admiral King Elementary School. And tonight, I want to share just a little bit of Admiral King with you. Admiral King, where academics and character count. And you're going to see that in this student when they give their speech and lead us in the pledge this evening. Shane Ramey Rowland has been with Admiral King since it opened 6 years ago. So I thought it only was fitting to have a child lead us in the pledge who has been there all 6 years, who exceeds in academics. One example is that in a national norm test of the STAR reading test. Beginning of the year, he came out at 8.5, which means 8th grade, 5th month. He finished this year at 12.9, meaning 12th grade, 9th month. Some great growth and some great achievement. And his character is next to none. And I think that speaks a lot from his parents, who are not Lorain City Schools neighbors. We stole them from Crestview. Shane is open road from Crestview Schools to come to Lorain City Schools. Oh, no, he is smart. Something our district needs to steal more of. So I'm proud of Shane for that. But I looked at his file just this afternoon, and I knew Shane always had perfect attendance, but I went back all the way to kindergarten, his perfect attendance, something I am nowhere close to doing. Except, Shane, you took a trip last week to Florida. How could you? Shane? Yes. And his sister leads another great leader in Lorain City Schools. But Shane took a trip. He was the only elementary student with the Lorain High School band on their trip to Florida, representing the elementary schools. So he will not be marked absent. So at this time, I'd like to introduce to you, coming from his mother, who's a teacher at Admiral King, a leader itself of our school, of the chess club, our family literacy coordinator, just a family of leaders, someone you need to have in Lorain City Schools the next 6 years, Shane Ramey Rowland, to lead the pledge. Whenever you're ready.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, liberty and justice for all. Good evening. My name is Shane Ramey Rowland, and I'm a 5th grader at Admiral King Elementary School. I was part of the first group of kindergarteners to open our school. As my tenure at Admiral King comes to an end, I would like to reflect on my amazing experiences. Well, my parents originally planned for me to go through the Montessori program that ended as I began school. Even though the program ended, the Montessori teacher stayed. It shaped me as a student. In kindergarten, we had carpet time where we shared stories. In 1st grade, we learned math through play. We learned through centers at our own pace. My classmates and I were writing short books in 2nd grade when our classwork was done. In fact, we wrote a lot, but we thought it was fun. I qualified for the gifted program at the end of 2nd grade. My parents decided to keep me in Lorain City Schools because it is the only district in the area with self-contained gifted classrooms. The work was challenging. I had teachers and peers who really pushed me and understood me. I really enjoyed projects like writing books for young authors, performing at our annual poetry slam, and our great presidential debate this year. Many times I have had the opportunity to change school districts, but I wouldn't have it any other way. I flourished at Admiral King. I have grown and become more confident. Mrs. Matten gave us a book when we graduated kindergarten. Curious You, On Your Way by H.A. Ray. It reads, Of course, the time comes when a curious monkey needs to break free, even if you don't know exactly where you're going or what will come next. So much to see, so much to try. What should you do? It's up to you. I'm grateful for the teachers who have prepared me for my next steps.
Stay up here, stay up here. I forgot to mention that Shane is the son of Mike Rowland, who's unable to be with us today, and Julie Raymer. And Caitlin, his sister's in, I believe, 10th grade this year. Shane, here's another way you can get this boy. Joy Sports, Lorain teams all the way. Football, basketball, baseball, soccer. He's a Boy Scout, belongs to the chess club. And we're just real proud of him to be a Lorain Titan. Thank you. And at this time, on behalf of the school board, they have a little plaque for you to hang in your bedroom home. And thank you for being an Admiral King and a Lorain Titan. We appreciate everything you do, Shane, at Admiral King in the future. Yes. Yes, me. He's all yours. Hold that. They're going to take a picture.
I have a challenge for you.
What is that challenge?
120 years ago, long before any of us, well, most of us were born. You know who was number one in their graduating class, Lorain High School?
Admiral King.
Yep. I want to see you there.
Thank you.
Nice job, Shane. You have better attendance than I do. You're a better reader. You're a better public speaker. And you inform me you can whip me one-on-one on the basketball court. So, right now, I'm a little intimidated. But to Mr. Kiefer's point, you're exactly who we want to focus on and build a district around. So thank you very much for representing us the way you do. Nice job.
Good job. So let's do a picture.
Yep, picture.
You have to still wait.
The next presentation, Mr. Hawks, Mr. Hilco. This is for Do the Right Thing, correct?
Yes, sir. I'm going to introduce Mrs. Jennifer Lynn, who actually is the teacher who nominated the student from General Johnny Wilson, Diamond Henderson.
Good evening. I'm very happy to be here. I'm very proud of Diamond, and I would like to read the nomination that I sent in through the Do the Right Thing program. On Friday, May 12th, Diamond stepped in between two young men and refused to allow a fight to occur in the classroom. One of the students was being shoved and threatened by another, and Diamond made the split decision to be an upstander. What's worthy of a Do the Right Thing recognition is that Diamond was previously somewhat notorious for filming and sharing footage of fights. However, after completing a research project and learning about the negative effects of said recordings, she has obviously become a role model for her peers. She not only learned that filming fights is wrong, she stepped up to reject the violence altogether. I was so proud of the compassionate and brave young woman Diamond has become. She risked her own safety by selflessly stepping between two larger men to prevent an act of violence. I commend her for doing the right thing.
Thank you.
And at this time, Officer Orlowski is going to present a plaque and a small gift package, which, as Mr. Hawk says, you can't open it until you get home. But just a small story about Diamond. She has come to us, and over the past 8 months, she came to us very shy, very unsure, and to see her growth of not only in the classroom, but in the halls as part of her dance team as well. Mom, a huge thank you to you as well. Please stand if you would. Diamond's mother is here with us, and her little brother as well. So, Mom, as Dr. Graham has said in the past, that good students aren't made by accident, and it's because of you that she is who she is today. So thank you as well.
Hey, Diamond, can you do me a favor? I think the description was you were notorious for filming fights, and then you did a research paper, and now obviously you're doing the right thing and actually sticking yourself in harm's way to protect two people from each other. What did you uncover in your research that made such a turnaround?
Well, I felt so bad for recording fights and filming them, so I decided to change my ways into doing the right thing, because I know God is watching us.
Good for you. Awesome. Mike, introduce your mom and your brother. Can you introduce them?
Diamond.
I know you kind of point them out. Who are they? And then invite them up. for a
What's
picture.
your mom's name and your brother's name?
My mom's name is Desiree Henderson. My brother's name is Dante Blankley.
Come on up for a picture.
Diamond. Thank you so much. I'm proud of you. Okay? Proud of you. Thank you again, Mom. Thank you so much.
I guess I would just kind of follow up, and we can pass this along to teachers and principals in buildings throughout the district, is I hope that they're taking the opportunity to nominate kids. Seems like we get some schools who they're more aggressive, assertive in doing those things, but I think, we've got a lot of schools, and it'd be great if there were, we know that a lot of our kids are really doing the right thing, and so it takes an adult sometimes to acknowledge that and bring it to the attention of the community. So thank you for those teachers who take the time to not just observe the students, but recognize them and create this opportunity, and we hope many more will take advantage of that opportunity.
Well said.
I need a approval for the minutes from the meeting on April 17th.
Some.
Change, that's supposed to be a special meeting. We changed the date. So it should be amended to special meeting, because I think the 17th was a special meeting because we changed the.
It is special. It is said special. It says special on the agenda.
Agenda it is for some reason.
Okay.
So
Sorry, I was looking at my board docs, and it didn't.
Mine too. Mine
Oh,
says-
okay.
The header doesn't change. We can
Okay.
adjust that.
All right, so then, again, may I have a roll call, please?
Mr. Demakia?
Yes.
Mr. Ballard?
Yes.
Mr. Smith?
Abstain, I wasn't present.
Mr. Sturgill?
Yes.
Mr. Williams?
Yes. This time we have old business. And Dr. Graham, is this the, we're going to
We can do that now? Actually, we also have curriculum stuff to introduce now.
Great, so
Do that
we'll
first?
just kind of pass it off to you.
Yep.
And
Dr. Jones, if you'd be so kind as to introduce your team in terms of looking at social studies curriculum and textbooks,
Okey-doke.
if you'd be so kind.
Thank you.
Okay, representing.
Hi, good evening, everyone. My name is Mary Jacobs, and I am currently a fifth grade teacher in the gifted classroom at Admiral King. I'm one of the committee members of the Curriculum Council and will be talking about how this textbook adoption process began. Our current social studies book is 20 years old, and as the world has changed over the past 20 years, so has Ohio's social studies standards, and it's essential that our students be prepared with the most up-to-date information. We'd like to thank Dr. Graham and the Board of Education for taking this step to improve the course of studies at the elementary level. The textbook adoption process began after a series of after-school grade-level meetings conducted by Dr. Jones. It became quickly apparent that the district was in need of current textbooks in several areas. A survey was sent to staff asking what resources were currently being used and what were the priorities for the materials to be purchased. After gathering that information, Dr. Jones began the process of forming a committee by sending an email in December to all elementary staff to apply for and to be part of this newly formed but much needed committee. Applications were reviewed and committee members were chosen. This enthusiastic and driven committee then met several times a month beginning in February to discuss board policies, review evaluation criteria, finalize the review process for all staff, create a timeline culminating in the actual purchase of social studies series. The board policies for evaluating educational resources were reviewed, with due diligence being done to ensure that any textbooks we reviewed were directly linked to our district's priorities of improving academic achievement for all learners, being culturally competent, tying into our instructional framework of standards and academic rigor, providing differentiation for all learners, and include ongoing professional development for staff. The committee then began the process of looking at materials, always asking themselves and others, does this meet the needs of our students and our district based on the criteria established? We feel confident that the choices we have for review meet these stringent guidelines. At this time, I'd like to introduce the committee members who have given their time and talents to ensure the textbook chosen meets the district and board standards for textbook adoption. The Curriculum Council consists of staff members from 9 of our elementary schools and represents all grade levels, special education, and EL learners. So if I call your name, please stand if you're here. Patty Spataro, Garfield, pre-K. Melissa Whitaker, Toni Morrison, K. Ileana Rios, Admiral King, first grade. Jennifer Mazer, Larkmore, first grade. Sandra Di Rivero, Washington, special ed. Sandra Pelican, Washington, EL resource teacher. Joanne Lee De Los Santos, who will be speaking next, Admiral King, third grade. Dawn Ryan, Helen Steiner Rice, fourth grade. Penny Shreve, Hawthorne, fourth grade. Stacy Gleason, Frank Jacinto, fifth grade. Cynthia Ortiz, Helen Steiner Rice, fifth grade. Julie Garcia, Palm, Title I teacher. And leading us through the process with well-organized meetings, thought-provoking questions, and ensuring the process was completed with fidelity, Dr. Marva K. Jones, Director of Elementary Teaching and Learning. So committee member Joanne Lee De Los Santos will now be giving an overview of the next steps of this in-depth process. How'd I do, Shane? Shane and I practiced today. We practiced getting through anxiety.
Hello, my name is Joanne De Los Santos, and I'm a third grade teacher at Admiral King Elementary. I would like to extend a sincere thank you to all the board members for taking time to listen to our committee progress, and especially Dr. Jones for allowing me to serve on such an important committee that will make a huge impact on our students in the Lorain City Schools District. So far in this process, the Curriculum Committee has made tremendous progress in order to bring to the board a curriculum fit for all students in the district that promotes success for all and tie into the district goals. The committee has reviewed and taken into account Lorain City Schools district curriculum policies, which include evaluation of educational resources, instructional goals, instructional objectives, curriculum development, and finally, curriculum adoption. Using the district curriculum policies as a guide, the committee came to a consensus on the evaluation criteria for the curriculum guides. The committee decided that evaluating the process and presenting the materials would include dissecting the various areas, which include clarity and specificity of objectives and how they tie into the state standards, congruence of the curriculum to the assessments and how assessments tie into state standards, delineation of the prerequisite essential skills, knowledge, and attitudes needed to acquire learning of concepts, clear approaches for classroom use, which include differentiation to the varying population needs, such as ELL, special education, gifted learners, at, above, and below learners, technology tools, which include regular updates, user-friendly software or net-based use, and last but not least, tie-ins to the district initiative's 6 priorities, which include the instructional framework, special education, cultural competency, district leadership team, mapping, and professional development. As of April, armed with this evaluative guide and following norms of collaboration, the committee was able to narrow the materials presented from 5 publishers down to 3, Pearson, McGraw-Hill, and Houghton Mifflin. The next step on the path of adoption was to further delve into the 3 publishers and hear more information that would better benefit the students of Lorain. Prior to meeting with consultants, the committee used the evaluative criteria and wrote down questions on what to look for and listen for during the presentations. Keeping the district policies and evaluative criteria in mind, the curriculum committee hosted the consultants of the publishers and asked questions, heard about the many components to their programs, and saw the programs. Using the criteria, the committee discussed the pros and cons of each program. The committee then decided to get more input on a larger scale by involving all teachers in the district. By involving and inviting all teachers on May 23, 2017, to an open house to hear consultants speak about the proposed materials would allow for the teachers to voice their opinions and will keep in accordance with the district policy. In addition to reviewing the new social studies curriculum, the committee had the chance to review another program that we hope will enhance student performance through a program called Success Maker. Success Maker, ties into the Envision 2.0 curriculum currently in use in the district. Committee members hosted a webinar with consultants from the program, as well as a face-to-face meeting to further demonstrate the program and gather more information. Furthermore, teachers had the opportunity to attend mini demonstrations at each building by Success Maker consultants. The committee will also use district policy and the evaluative criteria to evaluate the program for use in Lorain City Schools District. The final steps in the adoption journey will end with the presentation of final chosen curriculum by the committee, soon to be established. The committee is hopeful that by June, teachers will have materials ready at hand to plan over the summer break, as well as curriculum mapping members to plan for the newly created district pacing guides. Finally, the committee is hopeful that by August, teachers will be able to have professional development on the new curriculum. Thank you for listening, the curriculum committee members.
And I'd like to thank you for, first of all, your time on the curriculum committee. There's so much work that needs to be done, and we're behind the curve on that, but I appreciate your leadership. I also want to thank you for your time tonight, but I've been through 3 or 4 dozen of these types of presentations on textbook adoption and the process. I've never been to one that so clearly painted a picture of all the work that goes into it. And for people who don't do this for a living, okay, so you look at some books and you shuffle them around and you pick one. There's so much work that goes into making sure that it's a huge investment for the district, but it's also a huge investment for teachers because you're going to be working with this stuff for the next 5 or 6 years I'm here now. So again, I just want to say thank you very much for all that you've done. And I think that the comments you made tonight and the work that's happened up till now is very clear evidence as to why we need to continue to empower our teachers and our building level leaders. So thank you very much. And Dr. Jones, thanks for your leadership. And I know that we put together some charges to focus on social studies and science because we're decades behind. Science standards change next year, so it makes sense as to why we're going to pump the brakes until we know what to look for. But thank you very much. I also want to talk about, in terms of old business, in a number of meetings for the course of the past year, we've talked about facilities, namely the alternative school. St. Mary's is where it's currently located. We said from the very beginning that that was not a realistic or not a viable long-term option in terms of space. It's not ADA compliant. In terms of there's so many needs that building cannot meet long-term. But consistent with what we've done for the past couple of years in terms of the next step and how we finish the project, we're going to, again, reach out to the community and our staff to gather more information. We put together a polling piece to gather information on next steps. Very similar to, I think we first got here, we reached out to the community and said, how would you like to communicate with us and how would you like us to communicate with you? The second part of that is after we figured out a communication plan, we asked the question, what do you need? And we had a list of needs from the community. And again, I think we've worked very hard to demonstrate that when you told us how you want to be communicated with, we responded. When you asked us how you want to share information, we responded and tried to meet your needs. When you gave us a list of your needs, we tried to meet those needs in terms of healthcare and dental and vision. Those plans are up and running. Again, we ask that you trust us. I hear, not complaints, but comments that you keep coming back and asking us all these questions. Well, again, we're trying to help you help us drive the district. And it's not our district, it belongs to the community. We have to set it with the priorities that you set for us. So again, we're still trying to figure out what makes the most sense and what the best plan is for alternative school. Same thing for our athletic facilities and also some programmatic issues. So we're going to reach out to the community. I encourage you to take the survey if you're called. The goal is to do it, at least the beginning part of this, is to do a random sample. We need about 350 to 400 respondents to make it statistically significant. but then from there, we'll build around the information that will help create. So again, there's more stuff coming out in terms of what our next steps are and how we finish off this project that's been in place now for 14 years, is that right?
Yeah. So, and if we could, I could share, and some of the board members might chime in. First, an appreciation for the process that we just got a report on. One of the things that we do, we say that we value input, and we value people being part of the decision-making process. Not all the time do we have the methods and the strategies to gather that information. This last presentation was an example of when a district really says they value the input from key stakeholders, from folks who have the best information going forward, as opposed to making decisions in silos. You create a process that includes those individuals. So to the administration and Dr. Marvike, we appreciate that, and I think the outcome is we own it. It's not something that's been imposed on us. It's something that the professionals who are really on the ground have contributed to, and it's always best if those who have to implement the plan are part of the decision-making part of the plan. That extends also into what we decide in terms of facilities, what we determine and what we decide in terms of programming. We have to make sure that we get feedback from people, and it's best to get them in the first word as opposed to the last word. So before we start, we've done our homework. I think we used Clemson to do a study in terms of what we should be looking at in terms of alternative education. And we were very, very careful not to put ourselves in this bubble where we are looking at alternative education based on our experience with it. What we've had with New Beginnings in alternative education doesn't necessarily represent the real body of what alternative education, alternative high schools really look like. And so we believe this, there are students who presently are in our alternative learning environment. If it's a right environment that includes the right programming, there are lots of students perhaps who we have not identified who would fit those styles of learning. And so we want to make sure that we build a facility that is based on what are the best practices, evidence-based ideology, on what we should be providing, so that every student in that program gets the quality of education, the best quality, and the best facility that we can offer. And that's a certain equity that we need to have for all of our students. So we've sought out professionals to advise us. Now we're going to reach out to our community and try and get some information and feedback from them that will inform us on how to move forward with this. And so this is part of that process. I think it represents a better communication strategy comprehensively that the district is engaging in. You've got to ask questions, you've got to get feedback, and then you have to make sure that the folks who gave the feedback felt like they were listened to. And so this is part of that process, and it'll better inform the board on perspectives that help us make decisions that you all have elected us to do. Any other comments or questions around that, gentlemen? So we're clear? Thank you.
Thank you.
So the next place on our agenda, which who knows where mine is at since my...
If I could jump in real quick while Mr. Williams is looking at his thing. This meeting gets far less exciting as it goes on, so those who have families and all want to make a run for it, we fully understand.
Mrs. Rio.
I understand.
At this time, we'd have a report and recommendation to the treasurer. Mr. Hill.
You know, I blame you for him, but I told you that before. He's a smart ass.
Jim's taking a little bit of
Big mouth.
Recess, basically.
Should I throw the hammer at him?
Could not have had. This is my son.
When Jim gets back from his recess, we'll resume our meeting.
Yeah. That's great. I will do that.
Thank you so much.
Thanks.
Bye-bye.
Great job, thank you.
She was Christmas.
I recommend for approval items 8.01 through 8.05.
So moved.
Support.
Discussion? Roll call,
I
please.
thought you were going to do a presentation.
I don't have a formal presentation, but I do want to discuss kind of some of the differences.
In the discussion part?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
That's
Okay.
yeah. Going through the forecast, some of the changes that you will see, mainly the May forecast is to put in actuals and kind of update current year costs on where they were projected, as well as adjust for any changes throughout the year. There was some changes within the purchase service line mainly. There are some increased costs when it comes to personnel and benefits based to added personnel through discussions with Dr. Graham as well as the board. But the increased programming costs and purchase services is due to sitting down with the budget managers and doing a formal budgeting process with each individual person and kind of trying to plan for the future a little better, as well as putting some additional costs in there for kind of the unknown, for the risks of the future that I might not have been on the forefront in October. Speaking, mainly to ADC, things that are going along those lines, because with any change, obviously, everything has a cost to it. So just kind of trying to plan ahead and put some worst-case scenario ideas kind of in there just in case. But besides that, the only other changes, again, are updating current costs. So.
Any other questions?
Yeah, I have a question. Your assumption is that the emergency levy passed in 2012 will renew. Is that correct?
It is taken out in the forecast and placed down below, just to show. It's actually pulled out from the top number, though.
So the number I'm looking at on line
It is entered in.
1210,
1210 is where it is placed back in there, but it is removed up top from 1.01.
okay. So if that were not to pass, the first year that would, I think that runs in what, 2019?
The first time we can go for renewal would be November of next year.
Right.
Yes,
But it goes, the collection goes through 2019.
correct.
So if it were to fail, you would get half of it still
For 1
yet,
year.
and for half, well, you get the last half, right?
You'll get the last half
2019.
because it's the difference between fiscal and calendar year.
Right,
You'll have
right.
one half a year collections, and that's shown there with the 1.5 million, and then
Okay.
your loss of a full year collections is the 3 million.
Yeah. So when you combine both of those in 2021, it would increase the deficit by, what, about 4.5 million?
4.5 million
Yeah.
combined.
Okay, thanks.
Any other discussion? Roll call, please.
Mr. Demakia?
Yes.
Mr. Ballard?
Yes.
Mr. Smith?
Yes.
Mr. Sturgill?
Yes.
Mr. Williams?
Yes. And also, I would just like to thank Josh. Since joining the district, I'm sure there's been lots of nuances and things that, with a larger district and that are different adjustments, but we appreciate it. I think we've been, we feel very informed. And looking forward, I mean, I think we were in a pretty good financial position, especially thanking the community for the new money that passed. But we've still got some work to do. I think when we passed that initiative, we knew that it was enough, just enough with the governor's budget that helped. But we know we're gonna have to come back for renewal. And our job is to be the best stewards of the resources we have. And then when we need to be renewed, we think our community will support that. And at some stage, when we have to ask for additional new monies, I think we'll be in a good position to ask. So stewardship is important.
And another thing to speak to this, there's no increase to the biennium, based on the biennium budget yet, with the unknown.
You're using what is present?
What is present with no increase
With no
beyond
increase.
17.
Okay.
So,
Well, that hadn't been approved yet. Does it have to be approved by July?
I
June?
believe so.
Okay.
And there's estimates out there, but I don't feel comfortable putting anything in here just
Yeah.
yet.
thank you. This time, report recommendations to the superintendent, Dr.
Thank you,
Graham.
Mr. Williams. I'd like the board to consider for approval 10.01 through 10.12 personnel matters.
So moved.
Support.
Discussion?
I just want to be clear, 10.01 we already voted on. Is there a reason it's on this agenda?
I asked that it was put back on because the contract itself, if you were just voting on a salary, the contracts itself were not attached initially.
That's correct.
For
And
my
I have now
auditors'
signed
This
all
is
the
for the auditor,
contracts.
yeah.
For my comfort level, I asked that it was put back
Good enough.
But nothing different from what you voted on
No.
last time.
After that, roll call, please.
Mr. Demakia?
Yes.
Mr. Ballard?
Yes.
Mr. Smith?
Yes.
Mr. Sturgill?
You have to,
Mr. Williams?
yes. And note that abstention was because Mr. Sturgill has a son who is an administrative contractor.
I'd like the board to consider for approval 11.01 through 11.14 operations matters.
Discussion?
I'd ask
Ye-
that we separate 10.14.
Did I miss one?
We're going to separate 10.14 because it involves the college.
Oh, I'm sorry.
11.14.
11.14, I'm sorry.
Correct.
Oh, I'm sorry, yep, thank you.
I'll support.
So this is for 11.01
01 through 11.13.
11.13. Mark Ballard, support.
Yep, I'll support.
Also, there is a correction. I think I was reviewing the contracts, and the one for Sheer Sound has a date ending in 2016, and that should be 17.
That was never updated.
Typo.
earlier in the year.
With that said, roll call, please.
Mr. Sturgill?
Yes.
Mr. Ballard?
Yes.
Mr. Demakia?
Yes.
Mr. Smith?
Yes.
Mr.
Yes.
Williams?
Yes.
I'd like the board to consider for approval 11.14.
So moved.
Discussion? Roll call, please.
Mr. Ballard?
Yes.
Mr. Sturgill?
Yes.
Mr. Demakia?
Abstain.
Mr. Smith?
Yes.
Mr. Williams?
Yes. Thank you, Mr. Graham. This time, is there any new business for discussion? Committee reports, recommendations,
I just want to share something
please.
to add all to the good news that was already discussed tonight. I had the pleasure on Saturday of attending the Lorain Arts Council annual awards program for Lorain City School students in grades K or 1 through 3. And to see the art, and most of those were from Lorain schools. There were a few from the community schools, but most of them, including Miss Pardon's daughter, who was a winner. And it was so exciting to watch those kids come up and get their awards. They all did their own coloring of the lighthouse, the Lorain Lighthouse. And they were also honoring Lorain artist Stephen DeHanas, and they had a lot of his works on display there as an incentive to the kids. And I understand you're working with Antonio,
We are engaged in a few different things.
and Steve, you are?
Yes, we are.
Yeah, yeah, because when we killed the arts when that died, Winston Churchill was once asked during World War II to cut the budget for arts and devote it to the war cause. And he said, if we do that, then what are we fighting for? And I'm glad to see our art program back. There's no doubt art stimulates the brain, and it gets kids excited, and our kids are tremendously talented. And
Agreed.
it was a great, wasn't it, a great program, Alicia? So,
She's
thank
biased.
you.
She's biased.
Well, yes,
Aren't
and
we
I also found out who her mother was, so is a good woman by the name of Juanita Senkeys.
Any other comments or? Okay, I guess I would, I apologize because I unintentionally skipped the first hearing of the public. And I know there are about 25 people who got disappointed and ran out of the room. So at this time, we would entertain anyone who would like to address the board in the second hearing of the public. Don't all line up at once. Okay. Our next board meeting is
June 5th, I think.
the day before commencement.
You think maybe we should just go to one meeting next month?
They
Because
can
that's going
discuss
to be
that and then
a
they'll.
busy time.
Yeah, they'll let us know. We'll keep it as scheduled. We can always cancel. It's better to do that
Okay,
than
yeah,
change
you're
it
right.
now.
Okay.
And if some of you aren't here, again, to the public out there, if you're watching this, Commencement is on June 6th, George Daniel Stadium. What time? 6? 7 p.m.?
7, yeah.
Um,
Stadium opens at 6.
Stadium opens at 6, commencement's at 7 p.m., so we'd love to see you out to support our graduates. And we are going to go into an executive session for items C and D. I need a vote for that. Roll call. Roll call, please.
Mr. Bowden?
Yes.
Mr. Demakia?
Yes.
Mr. Smith?
Yes?
Mr. Sturgill? Mr. Williams?
Yes, and we will not come out making any decisions, so you are all free to leave. Thank you for being here.
This has been a production of Lorain City Schools TV 20 WLCS.